Forget what you know about Ferrari, this is a new dossier, and it starts with hydraulics. When Lewis Hamilton pulled into the Ferrari garage in 2025, he didn't bring just star power, he brought a signature driving truth, one that clashes head-on with everything Maranello built last decade. It's not just ride height or aero, it's hydraulics, the fine whisper of force feedback. Sources on the grid confirm Hamilton requested a fundamental recalibration of the SF25's hydraulic steering actuator. Not a tweak, a rewrite. He wants linear response, one-to-one torque translation, zero dead zone, something the SF25's architecture never allowed, until now. He sees the steering as an extension of his fingertips, said a source, but the car wasn't built that way. Below the sheen of red livery lies a deeper struggle. Ferrari's legacy runs on progressive dampers, cushioned, controlled, bureaucratic. Lewis wants precision, and he's not asking politely, it's contract-backed, with performance triggers he legally can't be ignored. This isn't drama for drama's sake, it's structural conflict. One built on hydraulics, engineered in silence, and ready to disrupt the paddock. They thought it wouldn't matter. A few pressure readings, a bit more force on turning, nothing the data couldn't smooth out. But when Ferrari ran Hamilton's new hydraulic steering spec in a closed simulator session, it broke their silence. It's too sharp, too reactive, doesn't feel like a Ferrari, one test driver muttered. That wasn't criticism, that was fear. Because what Hamilton demanded wasn't an evolution, it was an indictment. He didn't just want the car to feel different, he wanted it to stop feeling like Leclerc's. And when the numbers came in, Hamilton's spec allowed faster mid-corner corrections, lower steering input variance, and, the dagger, a better delta in S2 consistency simulations at Spa. Suddenly, the garage buzzed not with excitement, but with politics. Adami's team started running two separate models, not public, not official, just split. One for Charles, one for Lewis. And when the data showed Hamilton's input led to fewer correction spikes in fast corners, the engineers flinched. Because now, it wasn't just about comfort, it was about performance. Every revolution needs a spark. This one came from a torque trace, slipped quietly out of the simulator logs, passed to someone who knew exactly what it meant. The chart compared Hamilton's requested steering curve with Ferrari's standard configuration. One line was smooth, progressive. The other, spiky, reactive, raw. But here's the twist. The spiky trace belonged to Leclerc's baseline. Hamilton's line, the one Ferrari feared, was clean. The moment we saw that graph, we knew he was right, said one anonymous mechanic. It wasn't a preference, it was performance. The leak didn't hit the press. It didn't need to. It spread inside Maranello like wildfire, because once that curve hit the internal chat threads, the engineers couldn't unsee it. They were building the wrong philosophy around the wrong assumptions, and for the first time, the garage wasn't split by driver loyalty, but by fear of being exposed. If Hamilton's instincts beat Ferrari's heritage, what does that say about everything they've built since 2019? It wasn't on the schedule, no team meeting, no agenda, just a quiet call from Hamilton's camp. Bring the data, no PR. Inside Ferrari's engineering office, 4 people sat down. Hamilton, his performance engineer, Vasseur, one steering systems lead, and Fred Vasseur. What followed wasn't loud, it didn't need to be. Hamilton opened a telemetry overlay. Torque application versus response delay. He didn't point fingers. He asked one question. Would you race with a delay between intention and action? No one answered. Then came the subtle threat. I can adapt, he said, but if I adapt to a flaw and we lose, it's on you, not me. That wasn't defiance, it was insurance. Hamilton was making it clear, accountability has a direction now, and if Ferrari wants to treat his feedback like a suggestion, they'll face public consequences when it fails. Vasseur said nothing for 12 seconds, then, let's run it in FP1. That was the shift, not in hardware, in power. Leclerc knew before it was official. Word travels fast in Maranello, especially when it smells like a challenge. Hamilton's hydraulic override had been greenlit for FP1. The moment the confirmation came through, Leclerc's race engineer shifted tone. Less certainty, more caution. The garage dynamic changed, subtly but unmistakably. If his feedback translates, the balance sheet changes, said a senior mechanic. It's not just testing setups, it's testing status. Leclerc's response? Cold professionalism, no confrontation, but behind the silence was calculation. He requested an extended simulator session, double the usual laps, with parameters not logged in the team's standard database. That's not prep, that's surveillance. 2 steering philosophies now exist under one roof, one built on Ferrari tradition, the other forged from a decade of Hamilton dominance. And for the first time, Charles is no longer alone in shaping the car. This isn't teammate tension, it's ideological warfare. Spa-Francorchamps, track walk day. Most passers-by saw two drivers strolling the asphalt, trading comments and pointing at apexes. But one overheard engineer caught something different, a phrase from Hamilton, too quiet for the cameras, but sharp enough to sting. You feel it under your hands, or you don't? He wasn't talking about the track. Leclerc nodded, but his eyes didn't follow the corner. They followed Hamilton's hands, gesturing, firm, deliberate. It wasn't a conversation, it was a message. You've had your setup, now I get mine. The two walked the rest of the circuit in silence, not hostile, surgical. Because what's at stake now isn't just the steering spec, it's who dictates the future of the red machine. Back in the garage, engineers noticed a shift. Hamilton's car setup changes were processed without delay. No reapprovals, no slow walking. His influence was becoming operational. And Leclerc saw it. Two cars, one philosophy about to prove itself in motion. The cameras will focus on the liveries, the sponsors, the smiles. But what Ferrari won't show is what matters most, the overlays. Inside the garage, two telemetry screens sit side by side. One shows Leclerc's input, smooth, measured, slightly delayed torque, ramp. The other, Hamilton's, tells a different story. Aggressive initial bite, minimal correction, direct feedback loop. One style is safe, the other, surgical. Hamilton's feedback loop is nearly flawless, whispered an aero analyst. You build a car around that, or you get out of the way. And that's the real drama, because if Hamilton's setup delivers at Spa, it will force a pivot Ferrari isn't ready for. Not just in steering architecture, in car philosophy, in who they're willing to center their design ethos around. Adami's team has already begun drafting alternate mapping protocols off the record. Not for this race, for the rest of the season. Quiet, contingent, but ready. Because if Hamilton's data exposes flaws in the existing spec, the decision won't be technical, it'll be existential. Spa won't just be a race, it'll be a referendum on tradition, on control, and on who Ferrari really listens to. If Hamilton's steering override unlocks lap time, consistency, and confidence, the quiet resistance inside Maranello will collapse. Not because of politics, but because of proof. This isn't about setups anymore, one insider admitted. It's about whose feedback becomes the foundation. Ferrari is staring at a forked path. One leads to Hamilton, and a radical shift toward driver-led engineering, responsive systems, and relentless data interpretation. The other stays with Leclerc. Polished, practiced, but maybe too comfortable. And the truth is, Ferrari can't serve both. What happens at Spa may force Fred Vasseur to decide, not just who drives faster, but who drives the future. The new hydraulics, the split telemetry, the torque leaks, none of it is accidental. It's a coded battle for supremacy. And Hamilton? He didn't come to inherit a legacy. He came to reconstruct one. Because sometimes, the steering wheel doesn't just turn the car, it turns the entire institution. If you're ready to question the system, subscribe. The truth is in the data, always.